Welcome old family and new family to Cypher Scholars, part education, part hip-hop, all culture. This is one of two hosts speaking, Brandon White, aka Bushido Garvey, as I'm known in many MC circles.
And this is second host, Rob Blow.
Yes. Let's hop right into our curriculum. As everybody knows, we have 3 items on the syllabus usually, right? Item 1, we're going to talk about Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Trump, and the whole Israel ban that happened earlier on this past week. We're also going to talk about the legislation that's encouraging classroom instruction to be centered around what the noose means and what the swastika means.
Yes, sir.
Yep, heavy story there. And then we're going to talk a bit about Jay-Z, Colin Kaepernick, and the NFL. So let's go right ahead and hop into syllabus item number 1. Peace to Brother Shannon. I still owe you a chess game, homie. Still deserve this. You still need this work. I'm talking big junk right now.
So Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib was recently blocked from entering Israel, the country of Israel. And the reason of this blockage was because of the support for the BDS movement, which a lot of right-wing states, as well as conservatives, as well as other countries are against. Right. And as well as the president.
And the BDS, just a vocab comprehension check real quick. BDS is boycott, divesting, and sanctions.
Divestment and sanctions.
Yes, yep. And Ilhan and Rashida have definitely been major champions of that because of the persecution of the Palestinian folks that is currently happening in Israel right now.
Just real quick, there's 3 main actions of the BDS movement: the boycott, the divestment, and sanctions.
Right.
One of the actions was to release occupation, have Israel release occupation of West Bank, Gaza, a few other places. Right. Another thing is to have full equality for Palestinians that live in Israel.
Indeed.
Right, because they're not being treated with full equality. And the last but not least,
and side note, real quick, for those who don't know, Rashida Tlaib is Palestinian. Right, her family left the West Bank.
I want to talk about that real quick too. And the last but not least, they will for Palestinian refugees to have the right to return back to Palestine. Those who are refugees in Israel, so they want them to have the right to return.
So when I was learning up on it, I was very pleased that there are many pro-Israel factions like the Israel lobby. What do they call it? I forget what they're called, but it's like the most prominent Israeli lobby in America. They were like, y'all need to let them go. They were like Jewish members of Congress that were like, y'all need to let them go.
Oh, so these were people that was in support of Israel. Yeah. And they still was like, yo, you guys gotta
gotta let them go. But the president, put some pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And he said no. And then he was like, well, anybody who has a boycott or declares boycotts isn't allowed into our space, which I guess was a recent law that they put in.
No. This law has been in place since this is 2017. Yeah, you're right. So it's recent. This is 2017. It's an anti-boycott law for anyone that supports the BDS movement. So anyone that's supported the BDS movement,
you ain't going to Israel.
You're not coming over here. You're not going. Yep. And Netanyahu definitly reissued that. I mean, made sure that happened. And, but in irony, at first, Rashida Tlaib wasn't able to go, but she has a 90-year-old grandmother that lives in the West Bank.
Yeah, that's where her family's from.
Right, in the occupation of Israel, West Bank, and she was allowed to enter the country but she also said that she will abide by any restrictions that the country has against her or whatever.
Well, recently she had said, because she had felt the whole process was very dehumanizing. Mm-hmm. Like she had to go through those protocols that the Israel government was asking them to follow through. She thought was demeaning and didn't represent what her or her family would want in terms of the justice of seeing loved ones and addressing Israel's occupation of the West Bank. So she was like, no, I'm not gonna go under these terms.
So she's not gonna go anywhere.
She's not going nowhere. So I don't know how I feel. Do you think that?
I mean, I don't know if she's going or not, but I know that they did allow her to go.
They did,
and she said that she said if she does go, she wouldn't. She will abide by any restrictions that it was set or whatever. But
yeah, she made like
that's kind of crazy. I didn't know that. I guess that's what's up.
But now you're not seeing your family.
Yeah, sacrificing the family for the social action. I guess. Yeah.
That's deep. That's deep.
Crazy.
Part of me wonders if you could still be about your cause and still go see your grams. You know what I'm saying? I don't know though. You know what I'm saying? She did what she thinks.
This must be the theme of the day, man. Because we're gonna
talking about what's real sacrifice.
Yeah,
exactly.
A lot of lines. People swinging double-edged swords out here.
Indeed. What word? That's the perfect description for it. Peace, brother George. You know what I'm saying? We got our beans to go out here. That's an inside joke. Peace, brother Anderson. Nice to see you at the Teen Empowerment event. You know what I'm saying? We had the mean cipher there. But yeah, man. I guess some of the problem around them coming was around the BDS. You know, Ilhan Omar said some things that were interpreted as anti-Semitic. She has since apologized for them.
But we talked about that in an earlier show where she didn't say anything that was anti-Semitic. They just took it as anti-Semitic. They took a line and they focused on that particular line that she had within the full speech.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they took that out of context. And if you were to listen to that entire speech, I forgot exactly where the location was at.
Was it Bus Boys and Poets? I forget.
Yes, it was at Bus Boys and Poets in DC. And she basically said something to the effect of if you were to scrutinize pro-Israel lobbyists.
Right. AIPAC, that's what it is, by the way. AIPAC, that's what
if you were to scrutinize people like AIPAC or organizations like AIPAC, you will get you'll get punished for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this was going on with her. So, but overall, she said more than that. You know what I mean?
She said a lot more than that. And at the end of the day, and by the way, peace to Titi Angie listening, peace to Robin Banks listening. Mm-hmm. She said a lot more than that, and I think that she, they clearly had like a set agenda. They weren't going over there just to, pop off and then bounce back. They were planned on meeting with members of Israeli government and some Arab officials and politicians as well.
Yep.
And so I don't know, but Trump in his infinite Trumpage, you know what I'm saying, was like, these women are anti-Semitic, which is really ironic because of all the anti-Semitic behaviors that's going on right now.
Sexism, sexist remarks, you know what I mean?
They are directly stemming from his rhetoric, you know what I'm saying? All the neo-Nazism that's popping off, but he's trying to call these women anti-Semitic because they're trying to hold Israel accountable, you know what I'm saying? One thing that did look a little crazy to me, though,
what is that?
Was I guess the organization they were gonna do the travel through was MIFTA. Okay. MIFTA is like this pro-peace organization, nonprofit that's run by the Palestinians.
Yep.
And they're looking for peace treaties, but there were some things that I saw that were on MIFTA's website that were a little they were questionable, and ever since they've apologized and tried to move on and et cetera, but that was the one thing about it. But I guess they weren't the first to use MIFTA. There was a white congressman that used MIFTA to go over there. Okay. There was not any of this scrutiny. There was none of these problems. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I just hope that.
And I wish I did have another example of this anti-boycott law being used, because it was used a few years back against I believe white congressman.
Word?
I believe so. I'm not really sure though.
Right.
Don't quote me on it, but I know it was used against someone else years earlier, so they brought it back out of hiding just to use it against these two representatives of the House and Congress. And I mean, it's terrible, man, because they definitely are taking something out of context, because I mean, if you do listen to that speech, you'll find out that she wasn't saying anything like that, you know what I mean? So I think it's something else going on. I think I'm not exactly what it is, but it's a lot of things going on, a lot of gray areas that people are using to against people, I guess. So
for sure, for sure. You know what I'm saying? So I hope and pray for a couple things. One, that Rashida Tlaib gets to be united with her family in equitable terms. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? 2, that Israel is safe but also accountable for their actions. Both things can happen, y'all, because we talked about this too before, where there's an evangelical base that can pretend that Israel can do no wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because of Israel's place in our theology. Yep. But that doesn't mean that Israel shouldn't be accountable for their actions or stop doing unjust things. You know what I'm saying? So I just hope that they understand that, you know, because that's important. That's really important. Okay. Word up. Peace, Sister Rosie.
All right, so we good on time now?
Yes, we right on time. This is the perfect lesson plan right now. On to the next part of the syllabus.
Part of the syllabus, man. So next thing is we're gonna talk about the students are mandated to learn hate speeches. Well, okay, no. Hold on. Let me restart that real quick.
Yeah, we got you.
So this next section of the syllabus is about students and the learning of hate symbols.
Yes.
And this will be this was unveiled in Long Island by lawmakers. The legislation is to help reduce hate. To reduce hate, basically.
It's awareness of like the hate symbols and whatnot. Yep. Yeah.
And basically, there was a conference held in Long Island to talk about all of this right here. This is where I pulled my information from.
Right.
I don't know about you, but
no, it's your boy Todd Kaminsky, who I guess is
write no names down, man.
It's your boy Todd. You know,
information.
Yep. It's Todd from Long Island. He's a Democratic state senator from the Long Island or whatever.
So given the fact that all across the nation we have a rise in hate crimes,
right,
whether small or large, basically people in Long Island, the lawmakers in Long Island thought about a way to help curb this hate and to help reduce the hate by coming up with a legislation and unveiling it there in Long Island to the public and the media.
Now, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I don't like that term, devil's advocate, because of the spiritual connotations. But I'll say debater's advocate, right? Just for the sake of debate.
Angel's advocate, man.
Angel's advocate, debater's advocate, whatever's clever, as Brother Atlas usually says, right?
Okay.
Do you think that's gonna make change, like providing legislation that forces regents to include education about those particular symbols?
All right, so I know this was said during the conference itself, and this is what I thought prior to any of this happening, is that the hate mongering that has been going on is due to a learned behavior. I think, you know what I mean? So in the household, you learn to hate, you know what I mean? You're not born to hate. I believe you are learned to hate.
Right.
Whether it's through images, whether it's through conversations of older people around you, maybe some of your peers that have picked up some of these behaviors from others around them or in their communities, and it just spreads out like wildfire, man. So I feel like, first of all, I think it's a learned behavior. So yes, you can unlearn this behavior, and you could actually what was your question? Your question was,
you got it. Like, is it effective? Is this gonna change that learned behavior?
So somewhat it can't. I think it could have somewhat of a small effect. I don't think it will have a large effect, but I think it will have somewhat of a small effect.
Right.
Maybe it could have some type of an effect, but I think it will be small though.
There's like when I was thinking, I was like, yo, like the people who came up with this idea, they clearly had great intentions, and it's definitely a step in the it's a step in the right direction, I believe. However, I couldn't help but think, like, didn't you learn about what swastikas was about?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking too. Like, because if you were to listen to this conference, man, you'll see that towards the end of the conference, there was a woman. I forget. I wish I would have wrote down names, but there was a woman.
You know what happened?
Maybe that was a part of the one of the officials there.
Right.
That said that when they catch those that are practicing the hate crimes and they question them, they don't know what these symbols mean, etc. You know what I mean? So it's like, yo,
I don't know if I believe. I believe some of them might not know the depth. Come on, son. Come on, son. We've all seen Indiana Jones at least. Dang, like
you got one side people were saying that they might not know, and you got one side like I knew when I was young. Like I knew what a swastika was, even though I wasn't around Jewish. I wasn't around the Jewish culture all day. I wasn't around the Jewish culture, but I knew what a swastika was. I knew that it had a negative connotation to it. I definitely knew what a noose was and a negative connotation to those. You know what I mean,
yeah, to your point.
But, and I wasn't taught I wasn't sat there and taught
like the science of the symbols. You know what I'm saying? And like,
I mean, in the history class, like you just learn that as you go along. World War II,
exactly. Adolf Hitler,
and you know, the Reconstruction and you know, things of that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, in history. So
you know what I think it is, man. I think
you pick it up like that. Go ahead,
no, you good. No, you good. I think some of us pick it up differently than others.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We pick it up and think of, oh man, these are symbols of oppression against us.
Yep.
So we have more of an urgency to understand what these things mean. We don't need a curriculum for us to know what a noose is.
Exactly.
Especially if you already teach. Most curriculum include what lynching is in the U.S. history curriculum. So we know what a noose can mean if it's outside of our door, which was happened, I think, a couple times in college with my boy Q. Right, and it just happens all the time. Just unfortunately, in places of higher learning in other places. Right, we know what that means.
For sure.
Right?
Yep.
But since we have more of an urgency to know, we have more of an urgency to act on that meaning, and it has a different kind of weight. I don't know if folks who are not people of color have the same kind of weight, so they just kind of with the meaning because it's not a threat to them. It's potentially an assertion of their dominance.
An example of that would be the fashion show with the Burberry noose joint.
Yeah, right. They know it. Come on, son. Somebody knew.
Female model who was maybe a European model. I'm not sure. They say European or one of these. You know what I mean? That actually sported it and walked down the runway, whatever. Right. You know what I mean? But when they talked about it, they talked about suicide. You know, they talked about the news being connected with suicide. So I'm like, I don't know, man.
It goes to show how cultural funds of knowledge, like we can all have the same kind of information, and depending on your cultural or historical context, you can interpret that information totally differently.
Yeah, depending on who you are in the world,
or find excuses for it, because you can't tell me out of all the people that in that Burberry situation. All the people that got to go down the line to approve something to go on the walkway. You mean to tell me nobody said nooses can be problematic in the history?
Is it inclusive in the Burberry offices? I don't know.
Maybe not. Yeah, you're right, but
I don't know.
But yeah, no. I hope that this addresses. It gets deeper with the kids who really need to understand what a swastika means when you're using it. I hope it really gets them to understand what they're really doing. It's not something light, even though, again, like, I don't know, man, like, in my brain, and again, I guess we all think differently, but you associate the swastika with an evil empire that killed over 6 million Jews.
Yep. Genocide.
Like, so when somebody writes that, I'm like, yo, like, that's what I immediately think about. But so why is it that some people don't think about that, but others do? And why do they need extra education about something so problematic? That's just what floats in my mind. But it's a need, and they're putting it in there.
It's understandable.
But I do think one more thing. I know I'm talking a lot.
No.
But I do think that if they're going to teach the history of these symbols, they got to teach the history before racists got a hold of them.
Okay.
Like the swastika was not a symbol of hatred before.
Yeah, they do need to
Nazi
talk about
Germany,
it. Yeah, because that symbol. Yeah, let's talk about that, man. A lot of people would not know this, but the swastika is found in different parts of the world, right? And it's not set up exactly how you would see it.
It's like rotating the other way.
It's the opposite way. It's in the opposite direction, though. So you'll see it in Africa. You'll see it in Asia.
Yep.
I'm not sure if it's Japan or China. I'm not sure, but you'll definitely see it in Asia. You'll see it in Africa, and I believe you'll see it in other parts of the world. And it was a symbol of godly.
Yeah, it was a positive symbol. It was
a positive symbol. It was like a protection symbol or something like that. I'm not really sure, man, but I do. I do have a book that actually talks about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So no, Nazis were really big into ancient religions and occults, and they cherry picked and appropriated a lot of symbology and
I got picked.
And so the swastika was one of them, and unfortunately, but we still need to acknowledge what it means in this era. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you need to talk about. If we're really gonna get deep and talk about the roots of racism and what happens.
And that will not happen. That will not happen. They're not gonna talk about. They're not gonna talk about both sides. That will not happen. They're not gonna talk about both sides of the swastika. There's two sides to the story of the swastika.
Right.
And how the Nazis actually dealt with information. They actually had classes for Nazis on different information and stuff like that when it came to taking over countries and all this other stuff like that. But it's hard. It's a lot of deep information, man. Y'all not ready yet, man. I don't know about y'all. Y'all gotta go to somewhere else to find all of that. But
unfortunately, you know what I'm saying. And I think, and you should go beyond the swastika and noose.
Yes, yep.
Like there's a lot of, especially neo-Nazi symbolism that's going on now, like and kind of going about hidden in plain sight. Like that should be addressed too and taught as well, because that the noose and the Nazi swastika is like what, a half a lesson.
Yeah, that's
what I'm saying. Like so,
and that's the thing too. There was a teacher there at the conference that talked about the time allotted to teach this in the curriculum. Okay. Because they have mandated that you must teach the Constitution. They have mandated that you must teach about 9/11. You know what I mean? Those are bills and stuff like that. So I mean, as this is being worked out, I think they're gonna mandate a time slot for you to teach hate symbols and stuff like that. Yeah. That is, it's still being worked out. It's not a bill as of yet. It's just being unveiled. Right. Just remember that. You know what I mean?
Indeed, and best of luck to it. It's a step in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? There's things I think about, but I do stand by that bill 1,000%. Yeah. Salutes to all the educators and Senator Kaminsky that's supporting it. So
with the time
we are transitioning right on time. Looking at the Gucci, it's about that time.
Oh, I don't got Gucci no more.
Right. I never had one, so let me stop running. So your boy Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying? Jay-Z had a deal with the NFL to be a part of their what's it called, Inspired Change initiative. Okay. Which puts Jay-Z and his company Rock Nation as a coordinator of entertainment events for the NFL, along with
now you broke it down for me.
Along with giving them some orientation around how to deal with social justice initiatives like police accountability, economic empowerment, et cetera,
as well as gaining a majority ownership of an NFL team. Yep, I forget that too.
Yes, yep, he got that. He got that right after that. This announcement of Rock Nation being at the service of NFL.
So this is all playing factors with him against Kaepernick.
Yes,
and him against
Now, when we were talking about this earlier, I had a hard time. I don't know. I was just having a hard time connecting everything. Can you say basically how this is the conflict of interest or whatever? Because you had broken. I was like, well, I don't get how this is but like you had broke it down.
So
and it took me forever to get it.
All right. So no, you broke it down a crucial piece right there with the entertainment part, and I got the entertainment part, but I didn't understand like how they finagled the deal to make that a part of it. So basically, Jay-Z being having a deal with the NFL when it comes to change. What is it called?
Changing it, like inspiring change.
Inspiring change. Basically, the problem is that a lot of people are in support of Colin Kaepernick and his kneeling, and the fact that the NFL has to recognize the social action of Colin Kaepernick and respect it, as well as
hire that man back.
Yeah, hire him back.
Right.
As well as recognizing the injustices of the police officers across the nation.
Right. And by the way, peace to Sister Liz, who's listening right now. Appreciate you listening. But yeah. So
I'm sorry. With that being said, Jay-Z basically tells people not to partake in the halftime. I mean, in the Super Bowl performances like Travis Scott. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. Rihanna basically saying things like against the NFL, denying performances with them as well. And Jay-Z all of a sudden somehow figuratively puts a knife in Colin Kaepernick's back and does a deal with the NFL to gain ownership of a team and to help out with entertainment.
Consultation deal, basically.
Yeah. So people are against the fact that like you're playing on both sides of the coin. Like on one side you're for social action, but on the other side you're against social action and the way you did this deal with the NFL. I mean, does that make a little bit more sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. And when you had broke it down like that, it helped me understand like this truth when it comes to social justice or social action work, especially in education. Like any organization that talks about doing social justice externally, but won't do or struggle, keyword struggle, because it's not a perfect walk, that won't struggle to do it internally, you shouldn't trust them. Okay. You shouldn't trust them. If they're not willing to do it within their own organization, but they're trying to do it outside the organization, you know what I'm saying?
Overtly, yep.
So the most basic thing they can do as a social justice act, the NFL right now, is to hire Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
That's the most basic thing they can do.
That'll erase all. That'll make you start off with a new clean plate, clean slate, whatever.
But like that. But like so, it was fascinating, kind of hearing how that whole thing went about, because I was like confused. Like, wait a minute, he took a settlement. Can he even come back? Like, how does that even work? I guess he settled, but like it wasn't like in court in terms of suing. Like the Players Association doesn't allow players to sue. They have to go through private arbitration. Okay. And the fact that they did get a settlement shows that they did prove some sort of collusion was going on that didn't allow him or Eric Reed to get work. Right. So
even though they did hire Eric Reed back.
They did hire him back.
Kneeling and stuff like that.
Facts. You know, I'm still riding. That's a homie. That's a day one. That's a homie right there, because he's putting a lot of people on blast, including Jay-Z. I heard Ebro in the morning talk about this, right? Hot 97.
I didn't listen to that. Go ahead. Go ahead. What happened with that? Then?
Long story short, he had said, and I kind of saw where he was coming from. He said Jay-Z has a track record of doing things for social justice. Everything from the co-creation of that organization that works on prison reform with Meek Mill. He helped get Meek Mill out just in general. He funded that Khalid Browder story, or exactly he made that documentary pop, and that talked about prison reform. He's paid people bail money for Black Lives Matter and got lawyers for people for ICE for 22 Savage. 21 Savage. I'm getting old, son. I'm getting old. That's crazy. 22
There's
Savage.
22 Savage though, I think.
There is? Oh, okay. Maybe I'm not tripping.
Got a couple of old savages out here.
Yeah. But so he's done a lot, and he's boycotted the Grammys himself, right? And that was his own kneeling action, which makes me think like if you know what it's like to reject an institution, why would you not support somebody that rejects an institution? I digress. He said a lot. He's done a lot of things. Does he deserve our trust and patience that this can be flipped into a situation for Kaepernick to come out with the win?
I don't know, man. Like, I felt like he might have shot himself in the foot a little bit on this. Like, but like when your earlier question when you said, I can't remember it, but his response to people's as questioning him about Colin Kaepernick, do you still stand with him? Are you against him? What are you doing? I guess I'm gonna put in a paraphrase. He basically said to something of the effect of, we must move past kneeling and to actionable items, right? We either reach millions of people or we be stuck on Colin not having a job. I mean, like, so to paraphrase,
that don't help in terms of providing some patience for Hove.
So it's like back to what you said earlier, man. Working on the inside versus working on the outside. You know what I mean? Like, I guess from a school of thought, we must change the system on the inside. So why not join the NFL league? Those that are being oppressive, showing oppression towards other people, whatever, of color. I mean, for standing up for social issues and stuff like that, or showing some negative light towards them, or whatever. I don't know, man. So it's like you could either look at it that way, or you could look at it as him being destructive to social justice and what we're trying to do as a group of people, I guess. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I mean, but that's what he's saying. He kind of there was a conference being held on this. I'll actually pull some information from Roland Martin and his team of people. They actually was there. You know what I mean? They in this conference there was no photos, there was no videos. You might have had some audio here and there.
Right, because I tried to find it.
You couldn't find nothing. That's why you couldn't find that, because they shunned all it. NFL shunned all of that. They was like, nah, we don't want none of this here.
Jay-Z don't get used, don't we? I just hope.
So he was defensive during those questions. There's people that questioned him on that. He was a little defensive with the response what I just gave you. And there's a social action piece and there's an entertainment piece. There's more entertainment pieces than the social action piece when it comes to that deal. You know what I mean? Like, you might have it might be a little bit more
Super Bowl performances.
Performances. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're gonna have more performances throughout the season. You're gonna have Super Bowl performances, crazy Super Bowl performances, and this is gonna garner towards, I'm sure, maybe pop and hip hop. You know what I mean? And it's gonna cause like a cultural cross.
Now, can I ask
marketing, cross marketing technique.
Yeah. Now, can I ask you a question real quick, or even just ask? We're coming shorter on time.
Yep.
Peace, Joe Riv. We're coming short on time.
Yep.
How is that any more actionable than Kaepernick leaning? I mean, not leaning, kneeling.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like he says,
you only see entertainment pieces to it, but you don't see nothing social action about it. You don't see anything talking about. You don't see anything like, for example, you could have like a commercial talking about stand up against police brutality or something. Right. You know what I mean? Maybe that might be the next step. I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I haven't seen anything related to social action. All you see is everything related to entertainment. So I don't see too much going on with that so far.
Man. Well, we hope the best I hope the best for Jay-Z. I hope he doesn't get used. I hope that he sticks by his ethics. I hope this isn't the song The Evils all over again, but with social justice efforts. Remember that song The Evils?
Yep.
Like he talked about like making certain sacrifices to his character to survive in the streets in the drug game. I hope he's not doing the equivalent with the social justice work. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that he's, just doing what he's hoping he's staying stand up about it. You know what I'm saying? And he's a chess player in this. You know what I'm saying? He's maneuvered through these corridors. So hopefully there's things on the chess, moves on the chessboard we just not seeing. If not, I just hope he don't get used, man. I hope he don't get used, and I hope he doesn't sell his people or himself short.
We'll see what happens in the future.
Indeed. But y'all been listening to Cypher Scholars. Catch us every Tuesday, 1:30 to 2 on 104.3 WAYO FM. You can also catch us online on Mixcloud. Check us out on Facebook. Peace and progress.
Progress and peace.